On one end of my workbench, facing the end, is this 19-inch rack cabinet. I have two power supplies in it, connectors for power supplies, and then it's vacant. I've got a stack full of junk until I get clear to the top. I'm going to remove that. That's two variacs with a voltmeter that can be switched between them. But the variacs are too small. I have a number of larger variacs that I'll either put in the space occupied by this, or maybe I won't. In any event, this empty space here, I intend to use to hold my bench low voltage distribution power supplies. Now this is too big to get on my workbench. It's a drawer. It's 19 inches wide, 5 1/4 inches high, and it's designed to fit in a standard 19-inch rack cabinet. It was the cheapest thing I could find. Comes with a set of keys. It's about 18 inches. Oh, I'm guessing by, I don't know how big it is. I'm hoping to put into it a couple of server power supplies. And I envision some Anderson power poles on the front. This is the eBay seller page. Y'all stock. It's 3 units, which amounts to about 5 1/4 vertical inches in a 19-inch rack. $50.86. I worked in a lot of stations, radio, television. I never saw a drawer in a rack mount system. But I see they're talking about DJ server. So maybe they're talking about a portable rack mount for a disc jockey that's, a gypsy disc jockey that sets up in bars or in receptions, whatever, and brings his equipment with him. So he can lock his cables and stuff up here. Maybe. Here's the drawer. These are circuit breakers. These are LEDs. These are Anderson power pole. I've got 13.8 at 20 amps, and then 12, 5, and 3.1 each at 10 amps. This is just a template to allow me to center punch all of these holes. Big holes for the Andersons. This is the server power supply I intend to use for the 12, 5, and 3.3 volt supply in the low voltage distribution system. It's a Hewlett-Packard ESP115, and in order to make sure that it runs on power up, I've installed a couple of 0.1 inch jumpers here, 2 of them, and then these are the proprietary push-in connectors. There we can get a view of them. They're 2 pieces of silicon bronze springy material that accepts some sort of a push-in connector. These things are designed to be inserted and removed hot. And so these are the power supplies, and these are the control pins. Now, I got this information from this site here. The website is casa.co.nz. And here's a pictorial of what I'm showing you. So these two are the 3.3 volt. The next two are the 5 volt. And the final two on this side are 12 volt. Then there's 4 connectors over here, all common. Now, I have no idea where to get the male side of this connector. I've not ever even seen the server rack that accepts these power supplies. So what I've done is I've melted out the top of this plastic housing to accept a couple of wires. Then I took a strand of a piece of wire and I tinned the end of it. This one's still loose. I'll have to put it back in. And I pushed it down in between the two pieces of metal. Then I soldered it. So it's permanent. It's there now. So I'll go ahead and reinstall this one. I'm using a Weller soldering gun. I need some extra heat. Get it good and hot. And there we go. Here we are with all the wires I intend to extend. I only have one 3.3 volt circuit. Well, I have, I think, 4 of these and 4 of these. So, and the wires have been cut to various lengths to work inside the drawer. This is a multiple voltage power supply, 3.3, 5, and 12 volts. I've used this terminal block. It has 4 rows of terminals. This is a designated common, 12 volts, 5 volts, and 3 volts. I think this terminal strip costs $8 at Alley. Comes with a hinged lid. I've taken it off for purposes of working on the wires. But there it is. You can see now the holes on the end are not supposed to accept wires. Although you can put them in, you just have to make sure that the screw is long enough to sufficiently tighten. But normally you can put the wires in here. It certainly made wiring this thing easier. I got some debris in there, but you see those wires then come up to the front to the various circuit breakers and the power pole connectors. The work remaining to be done is centered around the 13.8 volt power supply that will be here. And of course it feeds these devices. This should complete the wiring of this drawer. Circuit breakers are all hooked up. LEDs are inserted. The distribution block is done. Power supplies are plugged into cables. and it's ready to go into the rack, I think. So here's the enclosure containing the two server supplies mounted in the 19-inch rack. There's a Hewlett-Packard power supply below it. Now the Hewlett-Packard's power supply has no front-mounted terminals. So above the Hewlett-Packard power supply is a metal plate with below and above labeled on it. The terminals labeled below are connected to the Hewlett-Packard supply. The ones above are not connected to anything right now. But here's our low voltage power supply. The three on the right are 13.8 volts, and the grouping on the left is a bunch of 5s, 12s, and a 1 3.3 volt.